Messenger. It's great to be with you guys today, and wanted to give you a chance for everybody to get the notice that we are here broadcasting, because I have a lot of reports of people saying that they don't get the notifications. So be sure to click your notifications. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We have a new mission to reach our own new millennium, so to speak, of 1,000 subscribers on our young budding channel here. So if you want to be a part of that, please help us out by subscribing to our channel and help us reach that goal of 1,000 subscribers. We're a new channel in this arena, and we need your support and your help to get the message out there. And 1,000 is kind of that magic number on this platform. Once you get to 1,000 subscribers, things begin to open up for you as a channel. So we appreciate your support there. And if you can help to give to our channel so that we can continue to bring you live news updates and end times updates and deep Bible study extended live throughout the week, that would go so far to helping us. We really do need your support. So thank you so much for supporting us and helping us out in that way. Guys, exciting things are happening. Donnie, great to see you. Cassie, all right, good to have you guys here. Biblical prophecy is being fulfilled as we speak, guys. China is now deploying nuclear ICBMs to the coast facing Taiwan. It's really incredible. Here's a short video clip for you just to kind of see that, what's going on there. But they are deploying the ICBMs. Now, we know Russia did the same thing back when they started the Ukraine war. They were moving their ICBMs around. Well, Miss Nancy Twinette is supposed to be going to Taiwan, and China don't like that for some reason. Sounds like a good reason to start a war. I mean, I don't like her either, but boy, that's pretty extreme, It's like, wow. It's like, Chad's like, man, we really don't like her. We really do not like that woman. We do not want her landing anywhere near China, so we are going to start a World War III over her going in there. Pretty crazy, guys, but this is all fulfilling biblical prophecy. And if it sounds insane, that's because it is insane, because people have lost their minds. They're no longer following God. They're no longer seeking the Lord. They are seeking their own selfish desires and their own independent will, and it's leading to a lot of insane tyranny that's going on. So basically, China's People Liberation Army is now actively moving nuclear-tipped intercontinental ballistic missiles in Fujian province near Taiwan. These missiles can reach the United States. All this over a confrontation about Speaker Nancy Antoinette, as I like to call her, let them eat ice cream. It's her famous video. Entering Taiwan when she was told she could not come by Beijing. The short and sweet, man. So they are moving these missiles in, guys, getting ready, getting them deployed, getting them placed. Now, interestingly, Taiwan is a non-nuclear country, supposedly, from what we know. Some countries, they keep it under wraps, but according to what we understand, they do not possess nuclear weapons. Now, this is all by design. Hey, C3, good to see you. Chrissy, it's all by design that they do not have these weapons. Now, what you have to understand is these things are planned years in advance, decades in advance. And, it's not like a surprise. Like this, everything that's happening right now, it's been planned. Now, obviously, God planned it way before. It's in the Bible. So God was way ahead of the devil. But the devil has been planning this for decades as well. So as they're carrying these things out from, giving people these, diseases to the plagues to the famines to the societal breakdown, all these kinds of things. To the average person, they're like, why is this happening? How is this happening? What's going on? And to those who are planning it and carrying it out, Carl, good to see you. They know what they're doing. They've already had this plan. They're just carrying out. They've got a whole, they've got books of this stuff, right? Lostronaut, good to see you. They know what they're doing. They're carrying out just as according to plan. So Taiwan not having nuclear weapons, you would think that's organic. Like, oh, good for them. They stood against having nuclear weapons and nuclear power. But no, this is all a setup because they knew the time would come when China would have it and they wouldn't have it. And they could use that as a pawn in their game, similar to what's going on with Russia. them saying, oh, well, don't worry, we're not going to move past the Iron Curtain. And, of course, they did, and they moved into all those nations next to them with NATO. So, it's all going according to plan as far as they're concerned. What's interesting, and I know, this isn't the Bible we're talking about here, but they make their plans, and we are going to look at the scriptures as well because that's our standard. But the devil makes his plans, and he actually broadcasts it. He likes to brag, that he likes to monologue, so to speak, about all his evil deeds. And one of the ways he does that is through movies, through video, through the news, headlines and so forth. He does a lot of things there. Well, here's an interesting video, as we've talked about before, called I Pet Goat 2. Which surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, just happens to have a lot of the things that are actually happening right now in it. And it's a very short video, only 7 minutes and roughly 26 seconds, which just happens to be the number of the Antichrist and the number of Arpazo, which is the rapture. So you kind of got a duality there. We're in the midst, guys. In the midst, we have both the false Christ rising, the Antichrist, and we have the true Christ that we are waiting to return and take us to be with him. So 726, 7 is, of course, the number of God, and 26 is the number of God as well. 7 is the number of perfection of his week. 7 days God made the world, or 6 days, and rested on the seventh. So everything's in sevens with God, and then 26. So it is God's number, but the Antichrist is also trying to pretend to be the masquerade as an angel of light and be the Christ. So going back to this video here, it's interesting to see what's playing out. So you have the army invading. Now they're coming through what looks like, now you see like a rib cage almost, and what looks really like a river. Now they're tanks, obviously, landing, but and it could be ice and snow. Yes, that makes sense too. But there's also the sense of water there as well, and you'll see why. So we've got this yin and yang symbol. Check this out. Okay, so she's out there. She's got her flag up saying, no, don't come in. The white flag of peace, of truce, and so forth. And they're coming in with their monster tanks. They've been green lighted, so to speak, to enter. Now, it's interesting that this first one has a green light, the other have red lights, and you kind of wonder if is that a symbol like this is all planned out, it's all mapped out. Russia knows what it's got to do, China knows what it's got to do, and now they've been green lighted to go in. It's kind of an interesting thing there. Now, you've got her with the back. She's got the tiger on the back. Well, we know that the tigers represent these 4 different countries that are in the east, the 4 Asian tigers, as they're called. And here's a little map of them. Let me just back that off a little bit. So you've got South Korea, you've got Taiwan, you've got Japan. I don't know if they're kind of Japan in there. Or what is this one? Let me go back over here and read. I think one of them is, I'll make sure I give you the correct information here. Hold on. My mouse isn't working. Go back, mouse. Go back. It is South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Okay, because they're counting Hong Kong as its own tiger, so to speak, and then Singapore. Okay, so those are our 4 Asian tigers that we're looking at, right? But one of them specifically, as we know, is anti-nuclear, which we know from Taiwan. Taiwan has actually had its share of nuclear protests. Now, again, this is all planned out. Huge protests in Taiwan might force a nuclear rethink. 200,000 protests are anti-nuclear. Now, we always think these things are organic. This goes all the way back to 2013. You think, oh, they were planning this back in 2013? Guys, they've been planning this since the 70s, the 60s and the 70s. They've had this all mapped out. Hey, Thankful Gamer, good to see you guys. So, yeah, huge protests going on, but these protests are not man-made. These are things that come about by plans. There are, sure, maybe the people think it's organic, because they kind of get all riled up and they're like, yeah, we got to protest this. But the people at the top, who are running it all, who are pushing it all, that's all fabricated. And they push for this anti-nuclear protest so that when the time comes, they're not going to have a way to defend themselves. Oh, and they're going to have to rely on America and the West. And, of course, we're going to fail them miserably because not because of us, the people, the good-hearted people, but because of the wicked cabal that has taken over the West. Right now, guys, we've got 3 cabals, really 2 forming. We've got the Western cabal of wickedness, again, at the top, that have stolen our countries. And then you've got the east and the north of Russia who are aligning with each other now, and the Middle East, and they're all aligning with each other now to fight. here to see who is going to rule, who's going to be the dictator to rule them all. One dictator to rule them all. It's like Highlander. There can be only one, so they're fighting it out right now. Now, you could argue they're working together too, that this is all part of the plan to bring down the world so they can bring in the one world government together, though there is some biblical reason to think that maybe that's not the case. Maybe they are really fighting each other, and we're going to look a little bit at that here. But going back to this video here, so we've got the Asian tiger, right, as we know. So we know where we are. The yin and the yang symbol. Okay, and now you notice on her cheek she's got the anti-nuclear sign. Okay, so this all really points to being Taiwan. China invading Taiwan. You've got the red tanks, the red-mouthed tanks coming in from China there. If we just go back a screen. Whoops, a little too far. Hold on. There you go. So they've got the red China coming in. And then we've got the yin and the yang. Now, why is the yin and the yang significant? Well, check this out. It's called the Yin-Yang Sea. No way. Are you kidding me? The golden waterfall runs off into the Shuandong Bay, and the sea there has two colors, the normal blue and the yellow from the waterfall's runoff. Because of this contrast of colors in the bay, the local people started calling it the Yin-Yang Sea, right? And the yin and the yang, those are the symbols that have a little bit of good in the evil and a little bit of evil in the good, right? A little dot of black inside the white and a little dot of white inside the black. So as we look here, we see that yin and yang symbol that's on the ground there as they come in, right? You can see that down on the ground. It starts to wash away. The yin and the yang start. So we know kind of where they're coming into is this yin and yang sea, okay? Now, where is this yin and yang sea? Let's take a look. Okay, so there it is. There's a picture of it. There's that yellow and the blue kind of combining. There's their yin and yang symbol, so to speak. And where is this? This is Taipei City. Taipei City is right there on the north part of Taiwan, and then right across the way is Fuzhou, which is China. So that essentially they're telling you already, this is how it's going to go down. This is where it's going to happen. And all the other things in that IPG movie are the same way. They're kind of pointing to things that have already happened. Hey, Amanda, good to see you. Good to see you, ECCC. So, guys, it's all going according to plan. This is all what they had planned out, but it's also going according to what God had planned, or at least what God said would take place, and it's all happening that way as well. Let's keep going here. So I think I covered what I wanted to cover with this one. So that's what's happening there in this video, and then we're going to get, what happens here is then we get into Day of the Dead, and that comes in the fall, right, where we have Baron, what's his name, Baron something, this character that there's a skeleton with a top hat and so forth. We talked about it before, so I'm sure we'll be talking about that again. But let's keep going here for now. So we got the 4 Asian tigers, right? So he's moving in on Taiwan, and check this out in Revelation. Okay, so how is the East going to advance? Well, this is all part of the plan as well. In Revelation 16, it says, the 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its waters were dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. Now, it does say kings plural, but when I looked at it, it seemed to be a singular king. But, you could argue the kings, the leaders of the, it's because really Xi Jinping, he's just a puppet anyway. He's not really the leader. There's other people calling the shots behind the scenes. So in any case, this is all part of the plan, guys, that they're going to drive the Euphrates so that the king of the east can come over, right? Okay, well, if we look at what's happening now, just to give you an idea, here's the river Euphrates, okay, and the Tigris and the Euphrates are together. That is the area of not Persia, sorry. That's the area of Babylon or Iraq, okay. Now, there's 4. If we go back to the Euphrates has been around a long time. If we go back to the Old Testament, well, they're both old. Oh no, I guess Revelation. Okay, so Old Testament, Genesis chapter 2. It goes back to all the way to the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden, guys, Adam and Eve. Can you believe that? So this is an old river, man. It goes back to the very beginning, and it goes back to the time of Adam and Eve. It says a river watering the garden flowed from Eden. From there, it's separated into 4 headwaters. The name of the first is the Pishon. It winds through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Aromatic resin onyx is also there. The name of the second river is the Gihon. It winds through the entire land of Cush, which we know to be Mesopotamia or Ethiopia. The name of the third river is the Tigris. It runs along the east side of Ashur. Ashur. Okay, and that even sounds like Assyria, you could argue. Ashur. Because as we're going to look at the map, and the fourth river is the Euphrates, okay? So this goes back to the Garden of Eden. And as we look at the map here, I'm going to show you that. Let's look at a couple different things. Okay, so as you look at this map here, it's very intriguing, the map that is there of where these rivers used to run. Now, you could, you can basically look at a map today and you can see where the rivers ran. Okay, so basically, you've got the Tigris, Euphrates, but they looped all the way around. And then there's the Pishon and the Gihon. Some say, some may even argue that the Red Sea, what we know as the Red Sea, is one of those rivers as well. But when we think of the Jordan River, for example, the Jordan River was connected to these rivers. So as you look at a map today, you can actually see that in the topography there, the geography, or I think it's topography. What's the word you want to use for that? The geology. So in any case, you can see how that river wrapped up around. If you start down there by Israel, you kind of see how it connects there, and it goes all the way up over Syria, and it goes around, see? So they've all dried up, so they kind of become their own independent rivers, but they all really were one connected series of rivers at one time, going back to the Garden of Eden, which means what a lot of people believe is that this was where the Garden of Eden was right here, the Tigris, Euphrates, the Pishon, and the Gihon. And some even believe that where Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem is actually where the Garden of Eden once was. And these rivers were all connected there, so that they were all part of one area. So we've got Babylon over there, Tigris and Euphrates, and then over here Gihon, Pishon. But where they all come together is kind of up around Israel, maybe even a little bit north of there, where they start to connect. But you could debate where that actually happened, if it's as north as they put it on this map, or if it's a little bit further south, because there's a few different maps and suggestions of how they all came together. For example, this one kind of puts it all in the upper area there. Let me see. There's another one here that had a little bit different take on where they connect. Let me see if I can find it here for you real quick. Where the Pishon kind of cut across a different way. Here's another one. Let's see about this one. So there's different theories, but you can see, even on a modern map, you can see where these rivers connected. And it definitely looks like it included what we now know as the Jordan River, going up and connecting there right above Syria. So you can argue that the Garden of Eden was right in this area right here, and there's geological evidence for that. Well, as we saw biblically, right, the angel in Revelation 16, he pours out his bowl so that the great river dries up so that the kings of the east can make their way over. Well, that is what's happening now, guys. The river is being dried up. This is starting in late 2021. They've noted that the river is drying up. The Euphrates River is drying up and threatens disaster in Syria. It says, one man said, it's a 50-year-old farmer says, it's as if we were in the desert, said the 50-year-old farmer, standing on what last year was the Euphrates riverbed. We're thinking of leaving because there's no water left to drink or irrigate the trees. And so you've got people who've lived there for their whole life, for years, who've gone to this river, fished in the river, used it to water their trees and their crops and so forth. And now all of a sudden, overnight, it is gone. In just 1 year, just last year, he says, it dried up. And so now it is drying up, and people can't use it anymore, and it's alarming. Reputed to have once flown through the biblical Garden of Eden. See, they even say it in this article. The Euphrates runs from almost 1,700 miles across Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. In times of rain, it gushes into northern Syria through the Turkish border and flows diagonally across the war-torn country towards Iraq. Along its way, it irrigates swaths of land, etc. As you can see from this picture, okay, that kind of says it all. You see it drying up there. Okay, that was from 2019 into 2020, and now we're in 2022. So we know it's dried up even more, just as Lake Mead is doing with the Hoover Dam, etc. It's happening all over, folks. So this is all part of the biblical plan for the Euphrates to dry up so the kings of the east can make their way over. I mean, look at these guys. 8 engineers say plummeting water levels at high. I mean, look at that. They're looking at what used to be a huge river. They're standing in the riverbed now. This is the riverbed that they're standing in. There's like a puddle left over there. So the river is basically disappearing. They're trying to, they're standing in the riverbed too. You can tell it's the riverbed just by the color of the soil. It's like the sand of the bottom of the river, and it's hardly anything left there, guys. So it's pretty amazing. So going back to the Bible here, you've got Revelation 16 where he pours it out so that the kings of the east can come over. Well, in Revelation 9, it also talks about how there are angels, 4 angels, and this kind of reminds me of the movie War of the Worlds, if you ever saw that with Tom Cruise, where there's these aliens that are buried under the ground. They've been there for thousands of years. Hey, Paul, good to see you. And here they are. The angel is sounding, and the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels, or release. Let me put this in maybe a more modern vernacular for you. It says, release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. So there's 4 angels that are bound there. It's kind of like, who's that one that lives is it Poseidon, who lives under the ocean, right? It's like they're living under this river. They're bound to the great river Euphrates. So the 4 angels who had been prepared, they'd been prepared for this hour and day and month and year, were released to kill a third of mankind. How nice. How exciting. Now, the number of the army of the horsemen was 200 million. Well, we know, we did a study on this before. I heard the number of them, but we actually know that this word is myrias, which the word myrias really means like a myriad, which is not specifically. It's myrias. Well, let's look at this to be specific. Let me show you this real quick. 2. So yes, you could argue that it is million. The word is myrias or myriad, which is a countless number, really. So it could even be more than that. Now this is 10,000 myriad, 200,000. So there's different debates on exactly how many this is, but it's myrias, and so 1,000 upon 1,000, or 2,000, 200,000 upon 200,000, etc. So there's different debates exactly how big this number is. But again, what army has 200 million or 200,000 for that matter? Well, we know that to be China. China has an army that big. No other country on earth has an army that size. Now, you could argue maybe India has a pretty big army, but I don't believe it's as big. Certainly not as equipped as China's army is. And so you've got this number of the army horsemen was 200 million, heard the number, and thus I saw the horses in the vision. Those who sat on them had breastplates of fiery red, hyacinth blue, and sulfur yellow. And the heads of the horses were like the heads of lions, and out of their mouths came fire, smoke, and brimstone. Now, in one sense, you're releasing 4 angels, so you could think, well, is this sort of a heavenly army? Maybe. But not necessarily. You've got angels, but then you've also got the army that's coming across this Euphrates, right? Prepared for the kings of the east. So it does seem to point to this army, because you think, well, boy, this sounds pretty crazy, the heads of lions and so forth. But you think about it, he's describing, tanks. He's describing things he can't describe, like things that are breathing fire. We know that we have these. I think I might still have that picture open here somewhere. But we know that there are tanks. Hey, April, thanks so much for subscribing. Thank you so much. We're looking to reach 100 new subscribers this month, so very encouraging. And we're hoping to hit our own new millennium, so to speak, of our own millennial of subscribers with 1,000 new subscribers. So thank you so much for subscribing. It's really great to have you with us. You've been raptured into our fellowship here, so thank you so much for joining us. So it's really intriguing. It sounds a lot like what comes out of tanks, what comes out of missile launchers, and so forth. Fire, smoke, and brimstone. It says, by these 3 plagues, a third of mankind was killed by the fire, the smoke, and the brimstone. Well, that sounds a lot like they've been destroyed by war. They've been destroyed by heavy artillery that came out of their mouths, which, of course, it looks like that. If you look at a tank or I had a really cool picture here once. I don't know if I still have it up here, if I can find it, but it was just a cool looking picture where this fire is coming out of this machine, and it looks like some kind of a creature or animal. I don't know if I'm going to find it right now because I have so many things open. But is it this one? No. Well, this is the frogs coming out of the mouth, which happens right after that. But think of that. It's like you're seeing these images in the future, and you're trying to make sense of it. You're trying to put it into words. You've never seen a tank before. You've never seen heavy artillery. You've never seen missile launchers. You've never seen these things. So you're describing it. But in any case, they had breastplates of fiery red, blue, and yellow, which is intriguing as well. Well, if you take a look at these guys, what colors do you see? I see red, blue, and yellow, and they seem to be working together a lot lately. Something makes you wonder. Scratch the chin on that one. Red, fiery. What is it called? Sulfur yellow. Their yellow kind of looks like a sulfurish yellow. And you've got the hyacinth blue. I'm not sure if that's a hyacinth blue or not, but we can maybe look that up. But that's really interesting that these guys are aligning, so they may create a united force that bears all of their colors, right? That unites the three colors together of the red, the blue, and the yellow. And we've talked about that before. So what's interesting is in Daniel chapter 11, okay, it's describing the kings of the south and the north. And he says, now, I tell you the truth. 3 more kings will arise in Persia, then a fourth who will be far richer than the others. Then a mighty king will arise who will rule with great power and do as he pleases. Now, this is pointing, it seems, to the Antichrist. Now, the Antichrist is not really of any government, right? He's creating a one-world government. And you could argue that there's going to be alliance formed. Well, it's forming now. We don't really have to argue it. Between Russia and China, right? As we see, the Middle East, Russia's making all his connections with Iran. He's kind of tying everything with a bow there with Turkey, Iran, and so forth. I think I had that picture over here, open here somewhere as well, where Turkey and Iran are making their alliances. And so really what that leaves is Israel's kind of the odd man out, right? They're not included in that alliance, so they're going to get, they're going to try to give them the boot pretty soon. Obviously they're going to fail, but that's kind of what's going on. So you've got them aligning, and then you've got this new world order, this one world government, this cabal, wicked cabal, who's taken over the Western countries, and they're trying to take over everything. Hey, Sala Richard. Hey, Freya. Hey, bless it all. Great to see you guys. And done a miss. All right. If I miss you, don't be offended. I might just not see your name. If I see your name, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to welcome you guys. So thanks so much for being here. It's great to have you. So it's very intriguing to consider this battle that's going down. Now, there's something here in Daniel, I think, that points to the idea that perhaps Russia, because I'm kind of debating, I'm like, so are Russia and China kind of playing, is it good cop, bad cop going on here, where they're sort of playing the enemy, but really they're all working together with the U.S.? Well, the reality is they're all working together with the devil, whether they know it or not, because they're not working together with God, right? So God is against all of them. He's not for any of them, but they are being used to bring about his end, which was planned from the very beginning. So it's interesting. This mighty king arises. After he has arisen, the empire will be broken up and parceled out toward the 4 winds of heaven, and that's their plan. They want to parcel up. I know they want to divide into like 10 regions, the 10 kings, as we see about in Revelation. So they parcel it out. It will go out to his descendants, nor will it will not go to his descendants, nor will it have the power he exercised, because his empire will be uprooted and given to others. The king of the south will become strong, but one of the commanders will become even stronger than he and will rule his own kingdom with great power. After some years, they will become allies. The daughter of the king of the south go to the king of the north to make an alliance, but she will not retain her power, and et cetera, et cetera. I want to cruise down here actually toward the end to get to the heart of what I want to share here. Then the king of the north will invade the realm of the king of the south, but will retreat to his own country. His sons will prepare for war. Let me just go down a little further, because we might be here a while if I read all of this. So let me just scroll down here. You guys can go back and read more of it on your own. But I want to get to, I think it's around 44. Okay, here it is. The king who exalts himself. Okay, the king will do as he pleases. Okay, now I believe this is referring to the Antichrist. He will exalt and magnify himself above every god, because this is what's described in Revelation, that he exalts himself above every god, claims himself to be God, and goes into the temple. Now, there have been rulers throughout time who have done that. Antiochus Epiphanes, for example, did that back in the time of the Maccabees and so forth. But there is one ultimate one that we know from the book of Revelation that is going to lift himself up above every god and say unheard of things against the God of gods. So he's going to blaspheme God, which we know also from Revelation. He will be successful until the time of wrath is completed, right? The time of wrath, which is what we're going into, guys. We're going into God's time of wrath. The 7-year time, the 7-year tribulation, as it's known, or Jacob's trouble, as it's called in the Bible. It's a time of God's wrath. Now, obviously, he doesn't want to bring his wrath on his kids. He loves his children. And so all throughout time, from the land of Goshen to times when he protected Abraham and Jacob, he's in David, and he's been protecting his children, okay? But now he's going to bring it on the whole world, so he kind of has to get his kids out of the way. He wants us with him. He doesn't want to bring his wrath upon us. He loves us, and there's no reason for him to bring his wrath upon us. And as Jesus himself said, pray that you may be able to escape this tribulation that's coming upon the earth. And he says in Revelation as well that I will let you escape. I will save you from this hour of trial that's coming on the earth. So there is precedent for it. And biblically, Isaiah 26 and John 14, he says he's going to prepare a place for us and come and take us to be with him. And obviously, we're going to reign with him on earth, and then this earth will be destroyed. So when are we going to get to be in that place? Well, it makes sense it's going to happen during this time of tribulation, as it says in Isaiah 26. Come into the rooms, prepare for you while your Father brings his wrath upon the earth to take everybody out. So this is the time that we're going into, guys, this time of wrath. And we've talked in many other videos. Go watch the other videos, please, and learn why this would be the time of wrath that we're looking at and why it lines up biblically and calendrically, if that's such a word, for what has been determined must take place. Okay, so this is what's about to happen against the Antichrist, right? Revelation 13. He will show no regard for the gods of his ancestors or for the one desired by women, nor will he regard any god, but will exalt himself above them all. Instead of them, he will honor a god of fortresses, a god unknown to his ancestors. He will honor with gold, silver, precious stones, costly gifts. He will attack the mightiest fortresses with the help of a foreign god, i.e. Satan, and will greatly honor those who acknowledge him. He will make them rulers over many people and will distribute the land at a price. At the time of the end, okay, we're in the time of the end, guys, the last days. We've been in the last days ever since Acts chapter 2, as Peter said. This is what was prophesied by the prophet Joel in the last days. So we are in the last days now. At the time of the end, the king of the south will engage him in battle. Now, that may be Israel, okay? We can debate over who the king of the south is, but we know Israel is gearing up for battle right now. And they're going to go out there and they're going to defend themselves against Iran and Russia and so forth. There's a good chance that could be pointing to them. And the king of the north, right, Prince of Rosh, will storm with his chariots. But you think this is the Prince of Rosh, but what I'm suggesting is that perhaps this is actually the king of not the north of Rosh, but instead the north of Europe and the north of America. Okay, North America, we call it North America for a reason. And and if you think about it, we are in the north. North America, America's in the north, as well as Europe is also in the north. We call it the West, but really it is also the north, right? So stick with me here. It says the king of the north will storm out against him with chariots now, because now they're under the Antichrist by this time, and cavalry and great fleets of strips, and they're trying to take out Israel. They're trying to take out the God of Israel, okay? Really. He will invade many countries and sweep through them like a flood. He will also invade the beautiful land, okay? That's talking about Israel. He will invade the beautiful land, right? So he's also going to be attacking Israel as well, as we know from Ezekiel 38 and 39. That's Russia, but obviously we also know from Revelation 13 that the Antichrist will ultimately rule over the faithful as well. Many countries will fall, but Edom, Moab, and the leaders of Ammon will be delivered from his hand. And this is why I want to show you why I'm thinking this is tying in that way. He will extend his power over many countries. Egypt will not escape. He will gain control of the treasures of gold and silver, the riches of the Libyans and the Cushites in submission. But reports from the east and the north will alarm him. Okay, now remember, he is a king from the north, right? He is the northern king, right? So we're saying, well, wait a minute. I thought he is from the north. Well, yes, North America, North Europe, okay? If you go directly north of Israel to the left, to the right, you're going to get Russia, but to the left, you're going to get Europe, right? So this is the Antichrist kingdom, so to speak, or Antichrist reign, pushing his way through, trying to create his own Gog and Magog, so to speak. But God is ultimately going to wipe out Mystery Babylon in the end. And so what that's going to leave is Gog and Magog, as we see in Revelation 20. But reports from the east and the north will alarm him. Well, who's that? We've got east, China, and north, Russia, is going to alarm this other army that is being formed, right? And he will set out in a great rage to destroy and annihilate many. He will pitch his royal tents between the seas at the beautiful holy mountain, which is obviously in Jerusalem, yet he will come to his end and no one will help him. Because where is the beautiful holy mountain? Well, this could be referring to the Golan Heights, because we know that Megiddo, Armageddon, the land where the final battle will be fought against Jesus, that Jesus is going to fight with them, the battle of Armageddon. They go to Armageddon to make war against the Christ, against God, and that may be where that takes place. So Very intriguing indeed, guys, that this is all coming to play. Russia, of course, backs China over the provocative Pelosi visit to Taiwan. So they're already in alliance. It's already done. It's already red, yellow, and blue. So you see what I'm saying? The breastplate's already red, yellow, and blue. They're already allied with each other. So their armies are going to be red, yellow, and blue when they go out together. So very intriguing indeed. Just wanted to give you that quick report on what's happening. But the missiles are being deployed. The Euphrates is drying up, and the East is making its move. So may the Lord be with us all as we move into these end times, and may He take us next week. Guys, we're looking at our timeline, right? That He may take us next as early, well, it could start as early as this weekend is when the 9th of Av takes place. We could have the great earthquake. We could have 3 days of darkness and the Antichrist revealing himself, and we could ultimately be taken on the day of Jesus. 88, the number 88 is the number of Christ. It's smack in the middle of those two blood moons, and then we have our half-hour silence before we finally move into the 7 trumpets, where we really unleash the wrath at Feast of Trumpets. It could happen this way. We shall see, but may the Lord be with us, and I hope to come back with more updates for you very quickly. Thanks so much. Please support the channel. Please like and subscribe, and I will be back soon. Love you guys.